Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
FanboyNation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
You might not have been familiar with her work previously because of all the amazing stunts that she's pulled off in various Marvel, DC, Sony, and Disney pictures. But now she's stepping up in front of the camera as a lead performer, especially in Paramount's Blood and Treasure. Michelle Lee, how are you today?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I'm excited to talk to you. I think we're going to crack some jokes, have some fun. You know, I found out that you grew up in Long Beach, so you're only originally like 15 minutes away from where I am. So, you know, we know the coast pretty well.
Yeah. I actually was born in Long Beach, but I grew up in kind of like the Gardena, Torrance area. So, but that's super close to the South Bay.
You know, it's not a bad area to grow up in. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. You know, this has kind of become, since you do a lot of martial arts training and stunt work in your films, this has become the hotbed of mixed martial arts over here on the West Coast.
Yes, which is super awesome. I love that I'm surrounded by that culture and by people that love martial arts. So,
you know, it's very interesting, the ebb and flow of martial arts before we get into the career. We continuously switch from grappling to striking. So for the longest time, it was submission wrestling. And then it went to Western boxing. Then it went to judo. Then it went to kung fu. Then it went to Japanese jiu-jitsu. Then karate. Then Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now Muay Thai is king of the ring at this point. Why do you think it's these ebb and flows of going from grappling to striking and back again?
You know, I feel like there's certain levels and specific things in each martial arts that people kind of lose track of, and they're like, oh yeah, but it's all about grappling, it's all about floor work, and then they go, yeah, but I can overcome this person because all he does is floor work with this, and so then they're grabbing onto things. I think it's just, you know, kind of like what Bruce Lee is. It's like the best is the mix of everything, but then we kind of get stuck into these things that this is the best. You know, and I think it's just a gradual flow. I don't know. Martial arts is a never ending story for me. Like I'm always learning. There's always something that I don't know or something new that I could learn. So that's why I love it so much. That's why I feel like it just keeps, like you said, evolving and flowing, and it just doesn't stop, you know?
Like, are you first generation like myself?
Yeah.
Okay. How much of that influence had with parents being immigrants? The cultural aspect of the martial arts played into your upbringing?
Oh, well, they thought that, they told me don't do martial arts because that's for street performers and that's for the poor people. They're like, that's for the people that perform on the street for money. You know what I mean? And so, but I mean, back where in their country, it might have been, you know, they didn't glorify it like we do here, especially, you know, film and television. And they do have it in film and television over there. But, you know, I think with immigrants, they're always focused on, well, that's not a real career. You know, that's not a real job. The real job is being a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. So all that stuff, you know, in the arts is all just fluff, you know, which, you know, I struggled with a lot growing up, but now I'm like, they were just immigrants and they were just thinking the best that they could. They wanted to do the best they could for their family, and they thought this was stable. And, you know, it's one of those things that you don't know where they're coming from, because they might have seen a lot of hardship that I couldn't even understand, having the privilege of growing up in the States, you know. So life being so hard and so tough, you just get stuck in your ways and you survive, you know.
See, I thought you were talking to my parents with that doctor, lawyer, engineer stuff. So, you know,
yeah,
my dad was an engineer.
Were they the same?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my dad was an engineer.
Oh, same with my dad.
You know, what type of engineering did your dad do?
He did mechanical, but he did electrical also.
My dad was a civil engineer.
Smart.
Yeah.
A civil engineer. Yeah, so smart.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes fixing things around the house really handy, because he understands how things work. But
it's funny because usually the mechanical engineer isn't that mechanical.
Yeah, but I feel like he is good on both mechanical and electrical. He just, you know, really is able to get into the mechanics of how things work and fix it. It's cool. It's pretty cool. He's
See,
pretty smart.
if I had gone the engineering route, I probably would have gone mechanical engineering, but I'm accident prone, so fixing it myself would have been a problem.
Right. Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. But Michelle, how did you get into the stunt work aspect? Was it lack of opportunity for Asian leads at the time? Was it,
Totally.
is that primarily what it was?
That was a huge part of it. Because I grew up in like the South Bay or the Los Angeles area, acting and being in front of the TV and film and television, all that stuff was very everyday. It's like, oh yeah, Joe does commercials and Sarah was in a play, like just growing up. So so it wasn't a big deal that, you got headshots, when you were a kid. It was just like every day. And I actually, my mom put me into it because I was really shy. I came from Taiwan because I kind of stayed in Taiwan when I was a kid. And then even though I was born here, I stayed there for very long enough to where my first language was Chinese. And so when I came here, I was very shy. And so when my mom was like, oh, why don't you take some acting lessons or something, just because you're so shy and you have such a weird issue and, whatever. And so that was my first introduction into acting and being in front of the camera. It terrified me. I pushed against and never wanted to touch it. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then my love for acting. And so when I kind of got older, I'd always been like, oh, I want to do that. And then just as a, like an activity side sport, I wanted to do martial arts. It just was something that I thought was cool and looked interesting. I started in dance, and then thought that martial arts was way cooler than dance. And then so when I really seriously tried to pursue acting, there were no jobs. I think it was like, just seeing an Asian face as a lead or as a secondary lead just wasn't happening. So I did a lot of nothing. I went on a lot of auditions and didn't book a lot of auditions. And then so one day, a man by the name of Phil Tan came into our martial arts space, dojo. And he's like, oh, we're looking for Asian girls to fight. And I was like, oh, I fight. That's what I do in this class all day long. And they're like, yeah, great. We need to, have you audition. Are you comfortable with that? I'm like, all day long, comfortable. And so I auditioned for Pirates of the Caribbean, the one with Chow and Fat, Pirates 3. And I booked it. And that was my first stunt job. And I kind of was like, what is this stunts? I thought stunts was like, people being set on fire. And so, then I learned it was like a whole, world in itself, not just being set on fire or falling off things, which it does include. It's driving, it's fighting, it's, falling, it's so much. Or even it just being in very cold or very uncomfortable suits, they don't put regular people in it because it's just so taxing on the body, to hunch over for 12 hours or be cramped in a claustrophobic suit. And so, yeah, that's how I started. That was a long-winded story. Sorry.
It's good we have time.
Okay, good.
Yeah. No, but was it also a little easier to transition because in training, you have to pull your punches. You can't fully strike your training partner at 100% because they're not going to be your training partner for very long.
Yeah.
You save that for sparring class. At some point you're like, oh, I've been pulling my punches all day because we're trying to get the movement down and we're going slow and we're going maybe 15-20% of whether it's power or exertion or the motion. That was an easier transition into stunts.
Oh, for sure. And the style that I did that I loved is called Wushu, which is more of a performance-based martial art. It's not really necessarily sparring. It's a single, usually a solo performance, and you're judged on it kind of like a gymnastics routine, on athleticism and movement and style and whatever. So because I did that style, it flowed really easily into film. There are changes because the way the camera sees you just because you're doing it this way doesn't necessarily translate on the camera. So there are some things that you have to adjust to. But for the most part, yeah, like you said, pulling punches and not striking at full capacity, but still being athletic enough to make it look like you are, being fast enough, and as well as your partner being selling the fact that they didn't get struck, but needs to act like they did. So it's a dance for sure.
Did it ever strike you like maybe I should go into pro wrestling since this is an easy transition from there? Not an easy transition. Every mark is going to get mad at me and go, I can't believe you said it was easy. All right, you know what I mean. So.
No, never, never, ever. That is something saved for another person more skilled and more together and tough than I. That's a cool thing to watch, though.
A lot of people have the difficulty of transitioning from stunts to lead. I've seen it done before, but what was your transition like? Because you've been in Venom, you've been in Black Widow, you've done stunts for so many different, quote unquote lead performers, making them look good. Unlike except Tom Cruise, who makes himself look good.
Right.
Right. What is it like? Like, they got $20 million. I got X amount of dollars, but I made them look phenomenal when their head popped up, at the end scene. That now it's my turn to go this route. Like, how did that transition work for you?
Well, I feel like the transition isn't strange to me because I started in acting. It's been my first love. It's like it's what I started with. So because I had so much, I went to an acting conservatory. I went to through a whole thing before I even started stunts. To me, it was a natural transition. I'd still been auditioning. Yeah, it was a natural transition for me. But I mean, granted, we do things for actors, but they still have what I feel like is such a different part of selling the character than we do, that I feel like, it is definitely a marriage of both. It's not to say that, the stunt person does everything, or because sometimes the actors get into it and they do want to train hard and they do a lot. Other times they may not be so coordinated and the stunt person does a lot. So it all depends. Each actor is different, but yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I just feel like stunt people should be recognized for it, more so.
Right. There definitely needs to be an award for stunts other than just the stunt union putting it on.
Exactly.
All right. So now that you're being one of the lead performers in this new series on Paramount Plus, what's it like having your own stunt double? And is there ever a moment where you sit there and go, no, you got to do it like this instead?
It was really weird. I had a girl come up and she was dressed like me and I was like, oh my God, it's my stunt double. It was really crazy to see. Thankfully, I did everything on the show because they knew that I was able to. So I actually did everything. She rode a motorcycle for me, which I appreciate because I'm not great. We were in a really frozen, snowy tundra of a place. It was set in Mongolia. And we had these motorcycles that were so slippery. And I was like, I mean, I can kind of ride a motorcycle. Like if we're just going like that, and I just slipped out and it was just so icy that I was like, oh, I'm so glad that my stunt double is here. And she made it look cool, but on this show, I got to do my own stunts, which was fun.
That's awesome. Where I was I would have been just like Henry Winkler and like, look, put me on a platform and, drag me across behind you.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I did have a Cirque du Soleil stunt double. They switch. There's one that specializes in motorcycles, one that was a Cirque du Soleil, aerialist. And she actually did a fantastic aerial drop that I didn't do. So I don't want to say that I did everything. Got to give credit. She was great.
Was there that fear of being pigeonholed? Like, oh, you're only a stunt performer. We don't want you in front of the camera because we know you're so good at stunts. that, why would we want to transition you to lead? Like I'll use Ethan Suplee. And I think I'm mispronouncing his last name, but he's gone from, the 450-pound fat guy to, now he's like the super buff dude. And they're not putting him in a lot of roles anymore because, oh, you're not the fat guy we cast anymore. Now you're actually in really good shape. This isn't how we want to see you or how we're used to seeing you.
Yeah, there for sure can be a lot of that. And I hope that he does break out of that, because it would be so cool. But it kind of like Kumar, is that his name, the actor?
Cal Penn?
The Indian actor. What's that?
Cal Penn?
Yes. Yes, Cal Penn. Did I say Kumar, his character name? Cal Penn. But he seems to have broken out of that, hopefully. But yeah, it you can get pigeonholed, and I think that was something that I struggled with in the very beginning, where the industry was a lot more like, oh no, you can't be an actor, you have to be a stunt person, or you have to be an actor. There's no mixing, because actors can't do fights and martial artists can't act, you know what I mean? And it's just that like you said, it's like a the bias that they have. And but now we're seeing so much of the actor that you see them training and working out and doing a lot of stunts, and you're like, whoa, look at this actor. Or like Tom Cruise doing so much of that, you're like, holy smokes, they killed that, and it was actually them. And then also vice versa, like even though I did martial arts and I started my the big stuff as a stunt double, I can act because I've been doing it my whole life, you know what I mean? So now it's a lot better, but that is something that people kind of like, you have to struggle against, for sure.
Yeah. Does it help that the last 5 to 10 years, Asian performers have gone from, being the dry cleaner or the IT guy, or, when it comes to the female roles, the dragon lady or the seductress, or,
Right.
whichever stereotype, one-dimensional character that they've placed, that's now opened more doors? Because what I've noticed, when people talk about diversity or inclusion, it's like, well, what does it matter here? Because there's a huge Chinese film market. There's a huge Indian film market. North Africa with Egypt has a huge, Arabic film market. So why does it matter so much that there isn't that much of it here in the United States, when over there it already exists?
Yeah, I mean, like you said in the beginning, the stereotypical roles, like, I think Asian women get a lot of things like prostitute or scientist. It's so flattering that we could have that range, but there's literally nothing in between. Like we're either really smart or we're prostitutes. But I mean,
or a prostitute scientist.
Or I mean, hey, if they wrote that role, like, let's figure it out. We're breaking stereotypes. I mean, like now there's so many things in between that it has, for sure, like you said, gotten a lot easier. Like in Venom, I was just a person that the symbiote got into. I wasn't some sort of scientist. I wasn't some sort of whatever. Although I was a paramedic, but granted, I was in that country. So, but yeah, it's for sure gotten a lot better, and I just hope that it'll continue to get better, because like we're seeing, it just, like you said, it reaches so far. There's now such a wider audience, whereas before I feel like domestic movies were just made for domestic viewers, and now with translation and with internet and with streaming, like everything has gotten a farther reach. So diversifying just seems natural, smart.
Since one of the Chinese languages was your first language, have you ever dubbed yourself into, is it either Taiwanese or Cantonese?
It's Mandarin.
Mandarin, sorry.
No, that's all right. There have been some roles that I've spoken Mandarin in. The one in Venom was supposed to be in Mandarin, and last minute they changed it to Malaysia. So I spoke Malay with the help of a translator and a language coach. But I don't think not that many. because I'm fluent, but I'm fluent for an American, a Chinese American. Like for me to read lines and be quick and improv and all that stuff, I'm still not as fluent as a native. You know what I mean? So I can memorize lines if you set them and you don't move them. But you know what I mean.
But would you like to take one of your English shows and be your own voice as the dub when they send it over to China or Taiwan?
That would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but then maybe a native speaker can make me sound so much cooler. So maybe not. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to get you a second paycheck.
Okay. I appreciate it. I got it. Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. Keep the
I know.
money.
You know what I want to do? I want to dub video games and anime. Sounds so fun.
That would be fun.
A couple of my friends do that, and I'm always like, wow, that's awesome.
I'd probably interview them or know them.
Yes. Adam MacArthur, you should interview him. He's fantastic.
Well, set it up for me. We'll do it.
Yes. Okay.
I know you're a mother. Are you since your mom pushed you into acting to get you out of your shell, is your daughter more extroverted than you were as a child, or is she also introverted? And are you trying to push her down the same route, or is she looking at you go, Mom, I actually do want to be an engineer like Grandpa?
She's weird. She's strange. She's both extremely shy and extremely outgoing. I can't put my finger on it. You think that your kids are gonna be predictable, but she's a little unpredictable one. She's a firecracker. She gets super shy when she's uncomfortable, or like she'll shut down, or sometimes even in front of her friends, she's like, I don't want everybody to look at me, so don't take a picture of me, and she just shuts down. Other times she'll walk into a class, not know anybody, and be like, hey, what's up? My name's so-and-so. And so she's a little unpredictable, but I tried to kind of gently push her into martial arts and be like, this is cool, isn't it? She's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I'm like a little bit heartbroken, to be honest. And I don't want to push her because I feel like that'll just it'll just make her hate it more than she already does. I mean, she doesn't hate it. She's just like, no, I'm not interested. So, she's her own little person. I'm gonna let her be her own little person, and make choices. And as far as like the industry, it's a hard road. So, I mean, I feel like if she takes to it, I'm more than happy to help her and push her. But if she doesn't take to it, I'll let her do her thing. Right now, she's a phenomenal artist, which I can't draw a tree to save my life. But she picks up a pen and can do wonderful things, and a marker, just a pen and a marker and a Sharpie, and she draws amazing things. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe graphic design for an engineer. There's always that.
And your father just now bought her a CAD program.
Totally. Yeah. He's like, I used to work with CAD. You should know the basics.
And then don't worry, 6 months from now, she'll take up lacrosse and you'll just be even more confused.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Start off with the cheap sports kids. Soccer, all you need is a ball. Basketball, all you need is a ball. You don't need all the extra equipment to start off with.
100%. I started her in gymnastics, and good God, that costed me. I was like, oh my God, do you really want to do this? And she was super into it. And then after a while, she's like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, wait, we're done, because I don't want to pay for this bill. It got really expensive really quick. But she didn't get into it. Right now she's into soccer, and I love it. It's fun. She's outdoors. She gets tired at the end of the day. She knocks out. It makes her eat well. She loves the sport. She plays it. Yeah, like you said, a ball. We're good.
And discount cleats are $30 if you can find them on sale in her size, so you're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. As everything transitions for you, and this upward trajectory for your career, which I'm thrilled for you, because some people get stagnant in certain areas. Do you now have to take more acting classes, and how far do you have to pull back in your performance of where in the stunts, you have to over exaggerate the reach to throw the punch, and now the camera is framed you here, and now it has to be a smaller, more intimate performance. How much has that changed, and you have to figure out the range between the two now?
Totally, that's a good point. For stunts and acting, for stunts and fights, it's always the bigger the better, always. And even that's how I perform, just as long as it sells, you know what I mean? And doing scenes with a partner, that's always as natural and as small as possible, if the camera's at a certain angle. So those two I think are very different still. You know, because I've studied both, I feel like when I come to my scenes, I'm not trying to be super big and super acty, you know. I know that it's a totally different scenario than say a big fight scene. So those things are, I feel like, on separate planets. They're just in their own little orbits. You know, the bigger the better, the more dynamic, the more speed and like range of motion, the better. And then for the acting, it's like when you go too big, you look super fake, you look super, you know, not realistic. And so the smaller the better, the more naturalistic the better. So
now take us through the Paramount Plus series. You know, congratulations on being a part of that. Blood and Treasure. You just finished season 2. You know, take us through the audition process for this show, how it all came about, and then, you know, the challenges or the transitions that you went from, again, stunts to, you know, the on-camera performance where your face is prominent, and then balancing the two.
Well, I play this character named Violet. She's awesome. She's the main character's former best friend. They had a falling out and she comes back into her life, and they kind of work together to find something. And it's great because I get so much range. I get to be cool, I get to be fun and like nice, and then I get to be sassy and terrible and do awful things. You know what I mean? So I love the range of this character. It came about okay, so Sophia Pernis is the lead. She's fantastic. I actually did a movie with her many years ago. And she called me one day. She's like, "Oh my God, there's this role. It's for an Asian female. She's badass. She's this. It's so you have to audition." You know, and then so I got my agents on it, and then she made sure that casting knew to call me in. And so I went in for my first audition. I actually sent in a video audition because I was in Morocco filming Black Widow. So I was like, oh my God, what an opportunity. She called me for this. It's such a great role. I'm not able to be there. And I was like, for sure, I'm not going to get it. You know, I submitted my tape and they're like, oh, yeah, call us when you get back into town because we'd like to see you again. I went to follow-up auditions. I think I went to like 5 auditions. Each one terrified me deep into my soul, which auditions don't usually terrify me because I've been doing it since I was a kid. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, an audition, another one. I don't get freaked out. But this one, for some reason, it just got higher and higher. And then I passed my callback, and then I passed the second callback, and then I'm going to network. And so each one just got scarier and scarier. And by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm not an actor anymore. I just want to die. You know, like, oh, like just hire me or don't hire me. Like no more auditions. So the process was really, really scary, to be honest. But you know, since the character was kind of meant for me or so much like me, I felt so comfortable in it that I was like, well, it's just me. You know, so yeah, then they cast me, and it was like a whirlwind. We shot in many different countries, in Thailand, in Italy, in Montreal, and we got to travel in Thailand. It was so cool. So cool.
Now, I know John Larroquette is on the show with you. I don't know if you worked with him very much, and he's got the new Night Court coming out. Let's hope you get to be cast on Night Court with him for a couple episodes.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Yeah. I never had any scenes with him. So, yeah. And I mean, things happened to him that, you know, you might have to check out the show, but like, you know, it would have been cool to have scenes with him for sure.
I'm a big Night Court fan, so like, you know, when I realized John was on the show with you, I was just like, you know, now I got to go back and watch it.
I know.
We have so much stuff that's coming out, and I was like, now I got to catch up on 2 seasons of Blood and Treasure to figure out what's going on. So if you guys have the time, by all means, please do. I'm going to pick up with season 3 just because my schedule hasn't allowed me to start with season 1, and I presume season 3 is coming at this point.
I don't know, because I haven't heard anything from the producers. I don't know. I'm sure when and if it does, it'll be announced. But right now there's just season 1 and season 2, and it's so fun. It's like a adventure, fun search for treasures and artifacts, and crazy things happen, and crazy locations and crazy fights. So,
you were talking about how nervous you were for the auditions for this, but realizing, is it because you realize this role is something that's so and so close to who you possibly can be as a performer? Or I was going to say as close to you can be in real life, but I don't see you as a treasure hunter. More so as as a performer, where you do stunts, you do action, you do perform, you are multifaceted, that it's almost, I want this so much that I'm scared I'm going to blow it.
Yeah, and each step is just one step closer. You know what I mean? With each step, it just it definitely is something that I was like, oh, I really want this, just because it's so, I feel like I can kill the character and like nail it, and it's so much of everything that I want to do as far as the acting, and the range of who she is is so fun. She got to be this whole range of a character and her storyline. So I just really wanted it, and felt like I could really nail the character. And then also, like you said, the fighting, I'm like, oh, I could do it myself. That would be amazing. Yeah.
So then what is, like, you have $40 million, you get to present your dream project. What is Michelle Lee's dream project that's like, this is going to be my stamp on the film industry?
Oh my God, that's totally what I've been trying to brainstorm. I feel like those are things that are coming up for me that I would love to be a part of in the future, producing and directing. But I've always said I wanted to do a period piece. There's so few things out there that I feel like could portray Asians in a period piece that isn't super like Mulan, which I love the movie, love the whole storyline, and I loved everybody in it. But like a period, almost like The Warrior, I think that was a show that I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, I love it. But yeah, like a period piece for sure, going back and taking it back to times that are much different than modern day times.
The fancy dress, the more exotic costumes.
Yes, that would be so awesome.
Yeah. So you get to play extra dress up, and with multiple layers.
That's what it's all about. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is why I do voiceover stuff, so I don't have to get dressed.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I walk into my closet, I'll read some sort of narrative for some corporate read of, Steve messed up today because he said something wrong to Nancy. How did Steve misspeak? And then it'd be like the sexual harassment video.
Oh, hilarious.
So
I thought you sounded familiar.
Right. Yes, I'm the sexual harassment video guy that they force you to watch.
Yeah.
No, but all that fun stuff. But Michelle,
yeah, we had a lot of COVID corporate videos to watch. So many.
There's a lot
from
of
all the studios. Yeah.
If only those had residuals, like,
yeah, I know.
Company bought one. Here you go. You get another residual.
Exactly. How many times have we played this? Pay the man.
No, those are buyouts. That's what happens when they're non-union jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be very strange if it was a SAG-AFTRA gig.
It would be, but that's where it's at. That's where that's what keeps us actors alive. Is the residuals, because otherwise every job is, you never know when your next job is going to come. And that's always been such a daunting thing for me in the beginning. And of course, for my parents, they're like, "Are you joking? You'd finish one job. It took 3 days and now you're unemployed. Like, this is ridiculous." But the residuals of the past projects and how well they do definitely helps you get by. But I mean, they're dwindling that right now. It's like, I don't know what the producers are doing, but my residuals are getting smaller and smaller.
Which just means you have to create your own avenue and produce your own stuff.
For sure. For sure.
And then force your daughter to star in as the younger version of you in the flashback.
Totally. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't care if you don't want to do it. You have to do it.
We're keeping the money in the family, damn it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So Michelle, the holidays are upon us. New Year's is coming up real quick. Any big plans for the new year that you're looking forward to, just to kickstart everything this January?
Well, I just finished a project that unfortunately I can't talk about, but when that project is announced and I can talk about it, I'd love to put that out there. I'm super excited about that one. And like I said, the future of my acting career and stunt career and all that, I would love to direct and produce, and I want to put out my own short films and put out anything that I can as projects towards that. So I'm working on and I'm working on pitching a show, a TV show as well. So there's all kinds of things in the mix. We've actually had great feedback from our pitches, and it's just a matter of finding the right home for it. But producing that show would be a dream next year, to get that made, and then producing my own shorts in order to be able to direct.
Well,
yeah, I feel like I have. Go ahead. No, I feel like I have such a different viewpoint because I've been acting for so long, because I've been doing stunts for so long. Like, I feel like I have a great vision of what the type of story that I'd like to tell, so I really feel that would be fantastic, and I would love to do that.
Well, if you ever need a 6'3" Middle Eastern man in the background that presents as Caucasian,
there you go.
Just
Love
stand
it.
there in random scenes doing nothing else. So,
and you're in the South Bay. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Michelle, it has been a great pleasure chatting with you today. Please let us know where we can find you on social media so we can connect with you, and your own personal website and other things that if we want to look you up and go, that's who we got to model our careers after.
Oh, thank you. I'm just __ Michelle Lee, which there are many Michelle Lees, and that's why I needed 3 underscores, but it's __ Michelle Lee on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, I think. The TikTok. Yeah, that's where you can say hi and comment, and I'd love to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Michelle Lee, it's been a great pleasure chatting with you. Congratulations on all your success. Let's hope the show gets picked up rather quickly. Let's say January 21st. Let's give it an extra 21 days after the New Year's.
Let's do it. Let's get it on the air. Thank you for having me.